You're still watching Smart Mains Business. Now we're off to the latest from Karibu, East Africa. We start off with Kenya Airways, which has posted a record of 290 million US dollars loss, despite a revenue growth in the year 2022. And I'll tell you, 2022 was not a good year for KQ. And by the look of things here, KQ remained loss-making in 2022 with a net loss or more than doubling to hit a record of 38.26 billion Kenyan shillings. That's approximately 290.62 million US dollars. Now, besides that, it grew 1.4 times from the 15.87 billion Kenyan shillings, approximately 120.55 million US dollars, which was posted in 2021 and took the national carrier's accumulated loss to $1.3 billion. The results were announced during a virtual investor briefing earlier this week on Monday, and the cost grew by 86.4 billion Kenyan shillings to 155 billion Kenyan shillings, mainly driven by the rising fuel prices. Other direct operating costs shot up due to increased capacity. And not only that though, however, the board of the Kenya Airways said that the airline was on course to hit a break-even point this year, and profitability hopefully by next year, 2024, something it has not done since 2012, since 10 years back. Now, Kenya Airways saw its total revenue increase by 66% to 888.73 million US dollars, as passenger numbers rose by 68% to 3.7 million. And when you look at the cargo business, uplift increased by 3.5%. It increasing by 3.5% is to 65,995 tons. Besides that, the state last year took over a 525 million US dollar debt it had guaranteed KQ or Kenya Airways after the airline defaulted on payment. Besides that, last month, in a multi-million dollars loan for the East African country, the IMF highlighted that addressing vulnerabilities at Kenya Airways and Utility Kenya Power was urgent, amongst the other key issues in there. Now, last year, Kenya Airways had, of course, some ups and downs. One of those memorable ones was when the pilots and, of course, the cabin crew all decided to go on a one-day strike. That was a Saturday in November. And during that particular time, though, what happened was, after that strike, you get to realize that lots of businesses were affected, travelers were affected, and of course people were actually forced, for example, those who were using domestic flights, to actually opt for jumbo jet during that time. And of course the pride of Africa in Kenya Airways continues to struggle, but they hope that by 2024 they will be making profits, something they lasted in 2012, 11 years back. Kenya Airways, since the COVID-19 came in, it is one of those struggling aviation lane, or you would say Kenya's aviation sector continues to at least struggle with the fact that the face of the aviation, Kenya Airways, is not making profits as of now. Well, not only that, if you look at also Uganda's airlines, is not making any profits whatsoever, but the chances are now that they are actually expanding routes. And the latest information comes in that Kigali will now also be open, hopefully, for the business travelers in there. Away from Kenya Airways, though, now we turn our eyes to the Food System Forum 2023. This is the Africa Food System Forum 2023, and this particular edition was launched in Tanzania by Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, the president to Tanzania. She apparently officially launched the Africa's Food System Forum 2012, which is the premium platform for advancing the agriculture and food systems agenda on the continent. The launch took place at State House, Tanzania, and they emphasized the importance of including youth and women as critical drivers of Africa's food systems agenda. The theme of this year's forum is Recover, Regenerate, and Act: Africa's Solutions to Food System Transformation. Once more, Recover, Regenerate, Act as Africa's Solution to Food Systems Transformation. And it is going to be focusing on building back better food systems and food sovereignty. It identifies 3 steps needed to achieve this transformation: the recovery, regeneration, and the action. Now, recovery calls for decisive strategies and actions to help the continent recover and rebuild its food system following the multiple crises and shocks. If we talk shocks, you look at the COVID-19 pandemic, the Ukraine and Russia conflict. Then besides that, regeneration emphasizes the need to regenerate natural resources such as soil and water, which are essential for sustainable food production. So action refers to the need to urgently address the food system challenges such as climate change. Of course, this has been one of the key things that have been highly highlighted. There is something to do with food waste, something to do with food insecurity, with only 7 years before the 2030 SDG deadline. Now, the forum will as well spotlight the role of women and youth in the food systems conversations, as well as having a focus on regenerating interest in agriculture as means of wealth creation for the entire continent. And speaking at the launch, President Samia Suluhu Hassan highlighted the critical role of youth and women in Africa's food systems agenda, because she emphasized that more than 25% of, for example, Tanzania's gross domestic product relies on the agriculture sector. And she announced Tanzania's goal to become a food granary for Africa and the world. And according to her, the Africa Food Systems Forum, which will take place from September 5th to 8th in this very year 2023 in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, with a pre-summit event that will be scheduled for September 4th to the 23rd, rather from the September 4th, 2023. The summit will bring together a diverse group of stakeholders, including leaders, policymakers, the scientists, heads of government and private institutions, farmers and youth, to agree on a little bit of the practical actions and solutions to drive Africa's food security forward and create better livelihoods for all. And by the look of things here, once this day happens, there will be a pre-summit. The pre-summit will be on the 4th of September, still in Dar es Salaam, and then on the 5th, it is when the summit will kick off from the 5th to the 8th of the month of September in 2023. So there you have it when we talk about the Africa Food System Forum 2023 that is scheduled to be in Tanzania. Meanwhile, lastly, coming in from the Karibu East African updates here is that India and China are planning to trade in own currency in order to cut the US dollar dominancy not only on the East African community but as well as in the wide international markets. Now, these two Asian economic giants have launched separate programs in an attempt to reduce the dominance of the US dollar in international transactions and allow them to settle business in their own currencies. The strengthening and the scarcity of the dollar has sent shockwaves in the global foreign exchange markets, leading to a surge in inflation and, of course, higher interest rates though. So the Reserve Bank of India last week approved central banks from 18 countries. These 18 countries, including Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda, to open special Vostro Rupee accounts that will allow them to settle payments in the Indian rupees as part of a massive move to de-dollarize the trade. Now, data from the East African Trade and Investment Report shows that the East African community exports to India, for example, stood at $978.6 million, and those to China at $422.6 million. Now, on the other hand, the region's imports from India is actually estimated at $4.21 billion, while those from China and of course from China stood at $7.7 billion. Now, Russia has also been vocal in using the Indian rupee for trade and the dollarization process. Okay, now just a simple breakdown for you here. When you look at details coming in from trade, of course, China and India intend to have traders buying or doing transactions using their own currencies rather than using the US dollar, because they want to, what you could call, de-dollarize, so that they can at least curb the dominance of the US dollar in international trade. And of course, just a week ago, we had an update here regarding India and Tanzania having that settled. Now, of course, here, according to the latest figures from the East African community, is that by the look of things, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania will be able, or traders will be able to, for example, if you're going to China and you want to buy, you can easily use the Chinese currency. So you just turn the Ugandan currency into the Chinese currency, and then you get yourself a product. And the same applies to the Indian rupees. Of course, when you go to India or you want to buy something from India, you can easily transact in using the Indian rupees. So that means if you have, for example, the Ugandan shillings, you can definitely go and trade them at the Forex Bureau, turn them to the Indian rupees. So that trade is within the Indian rupees directly. It's just a simple twist. What they want to do is to make sure that they reduce on the dollar dominance in markets. And Russia is also among the others that intends to as well follow up on this. Now, the other countries that have approved this particular initiative include Botswana, Fiji, Germany, Guyana, Israel, Malaysia, Mauritius, Myanmar, New Zealand, Oman, Russia, Seychelles, Singapore, Sri Lanka, and of course the United Kingdom, who have accepted to at least use different currencies. For example, according to what the Reserve Bank of India approved. So they've decided to at least trade in their own currencies. For example, if you're buying in India, like I did mention, you buy using the Indian rupees. So we shall see how fast that will go, and will the dollar be dominated anyway. That is it for Karibu East Africa this morning. Now let's head to the international scene. All right, now from the international world, we head to the West, where Elon Musk, who is the CEO of Twitter, has announced a blue tick shakeup. When he just took over power, he did mention that a blue tick or a blue check would be worth $8 per month if someone needs it. Now, what has come out reveals that everyone by the end of this month will lose the blue badge, regardless of whether you're a journalist, a celebrity in any way, an influencer in the video. You will definitely have to pay for the blue badge as a subscription fee monthly. So from 15th April, only verified subscribers will have posts recommended to other users and will be allowed to vote in polls. Under the policy, posts from non-paying accounts will not be included in the For You stream of recommended tweets. Now, last week, the firm said it would remove the verified status of some legacy accounts, which date from before Musk bought the firm. Users currently pay $8, and that is approximately £6 a month for blue tick verification, which also allows access to additional features. Now, Elon Musk said that the charges were the only realistic way to address advanced artificial intelligence bot swarms taking over. It is otherwise a hopeless losing battle, according to him. Now, he says that voting in polls will require verification for the same reason. Now, a former worker on Twitter's verification team who asked to remain anonymous said that their number one goal for the team was to protect users from real-world harm, and this screams the complete opposite. And when Elon Musk took over Twitter, he was full of lofty ambitions about bringing back free speech, which does look like he's limiting though. Now, yet Twitter policy now feels very different to those ideas, and realizing that it was difficult to increase advertising revenue, Musk turned to a subscription-based model where he wants to at least increase revenue being made by the platform. There are two algorithms on Twitter: the For You stream of recommended tweets, and there's a stream of tweets from people you follow. Now, Elon Musk's new policy will now essentially preclude non-paying users from taking part in one of those streams. It means unverified Twitter users will be far less likely to have their tweets liked or retweeted. Ooh, that's huge. Now, combined with Elon Musk's winding down of misinformation checks, this could be an extremely dangerous moment for Twitter. It also raises an existential question for Twitter. It was supposed to be a fairly meritocratic place, with tweets rising by the quality of their content. Now, the verified users have their tweets amplified above other accounts, and Twitter Blue has since been used by controversial groups including Taliban officials and the prominent supporters in Afghanistan. Now, previously, the blue tick was used to indicate the high-profile accounts that were authentic. It was given out by Twitter without a subscription fee, but only the firm itself decided who got one. And last week, Twitter said it would also start phasing out its legacy verified program and remove some legacy verified check marks from 1st of April. Now, the firm added that the users needed to pay to keep the blue check mark on Twitter. So blue ticks have to be paid for fully. It is no longer the issue whereby those who are their blue ticks could remain with them. They will still have to subscribe to Twitter Blue. All right, now lastly, from the international news though, we head to the north of the African continent, but away from the continent though, in Europe, in the United Kingdom, as the Bank of England is on a heightened alert for further banking turmoil. You've heard of what happened with the Silicon Valley. Now, the Bank of England is also heightened on alert for further turmoil in the banking sector, according to the governor, that is Andrew Bailey. He did tell the members of parliament that the recent problems facing lenders have not caused distress in the UK banking system, though. Officials have tried to calm investors down since the Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank failed, sparking concerns about the stability of other lenders. In Europe, for example, worries over the strength of Swiss banking giant Credit Suisse led to a rush takeover by rival UBS, and nerves among investors have sparked sharp falls in banking shares around the world. The collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank was the biggest US banking failure since the 2008 financial crisis, and that left depositors struggling to get their money out. But besides that, the collapse was linked to the recent rise in interest rates, which had hit the value of SVB's assets. The US regulators had to step in to protect their customers, while the lenders, which is the UK's arm, was rescued by HSBC. Banking officials admitted to MPs that speed of the SFB's collapse had taken them by surprise and may mean that the banking rules may need updating. So Bailey, the governor of the Bank of England, said it was the fastest collapse from health to death, and since the UK's Barings Bank failed in 1995 after suffering heavy losses resulting from fraudulent investments. Now, Sam Woods, who is the executive of the Prudential Regulation Authority, noted that the SVB UK saw about a third of its deposits, that is £3 billion, withdrawn on one day. Big question is, will of course the global powers, or will the global economies continue to trust banks this time around, because lenders continue to struggle at the start of 2023. Of course, that is it for Caribou East Africa and the SMB International News. As we're heading into the break, investment should be part of you. Grow your investment with the Zabo platform. *292# is a USSD code that you definitely need to use. Kickstart of your investment with the platform. Zabo says, my money, my future. All Tech East Africa says, do something new. Now, when you're doing something new, all you need to do is think about, wow, what best can you do today? 15,000 Ghana shillings is a minimum account that you just need to use. And of course, if you want to register with your national identification number and kickstart of your investment with the platform. Zabo, my money, my future. All Tech East Africa. Do something new. Markets are fully closed during the weekends and on public holidays. After the break, though, I'm getting back with the latest from the social media trends. How did the Ugandans on Twitter react to the NSSF ultimatum of the 30 days that was given to the employers to make sure that they register their employees with the fund and make sure that they remit their savings to the same fund as well. Not only that, more business updates coming up in the hour of 8 o'clock. Good morning.